Hi everyone, on today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet this really cute tote bag. It's very spacious and it uses really simple crochet stitches, so without further ado, let me tell you guys the materials you need to make this project. To make this project I use 100% acrylic yarn and it is a weight 4 yarn. I did use this yarn to make this tutorial, but I do suggest using a cotton yarn. It's a lot better to use cotton yarn for bags, but that's all I had, so this is what I used for this tutorial. If you only have acrylic yarn, you can definitely use that. The only difference is just that this yarn stretches a lot more, so if you put heavy stuff in the bag it might stretch it out a little, so that's why I recommend using cotton, but acrylic also works. You can also use any weight yarn you prefer because this pattern is totally customizable to any size. With this yarn I'm going to be using a 5mm hook, but you should use the recommended hook size for the yarn you're using. Also going to need a couple of stitch markers and a darning needle to weave in the ends, and that's pretty much all you need, so we can now get started with the tutorial. Alright, so to start we're going to make a slip knot. So to do that I roll my yarn on my two fingers like this, making an X shape. Then I pass my hook underneath here, grab the yarn over here, turn my fingers and take them off and pull, and then I pull again to adjust it to my hook. So before we start, I just want to say that this bag is totally customizable to any size, so you can make it as big or as small as you want. And so we're first going to start by making the base of the bag. The number of chains you make in your foundation chain is going to determine how long the bag is, and then the amount of rows you make for the base of your bag is going to determine how wide the bag is. So I personally like to make 61 chains for my foundation chain, and that's how long I like my bag to be. But as I said, you can really chain as much as you want depending on how big you want your bag to be. So to start chaining, you have to yarn over your hook and pull through. So that's one chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2 chains. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3 chains, and you're going to repeat that over and over again until you're satisfied with the length of your bag. Alright, so here I made 61 chains, which is about 14 inches. So once you have all of your chains, we're going to start crocheting, and we're going to crochet in the back bars of the chain. So this is the front of your chain. If you turn it around, you're gonna see that there's little bumps like this. So we're gonna crochet in those. We're gonna skip the first back bar and insert our hook in the second one. So insert your hook there, yarn over, pull through, you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to make a single crochet. You're gonna go over to the next back bar and insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to make a single crochet. And we're gonna do that all across, so back bar, yarn over, pull through 2. Alright, so go ahead and make single crochets in every back bar, and I'll see you guys then. Alright, so here I'm done making all of my single crochets all across my back bars. The next step is going to be to chain 1 and turn our work. And now we're going to make back loop single crochets all across. So we're going to skip the chain. So skip this, insert your hook in the back loop of the first stitch and make your single crochet, and repeat that all across. Back loop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet, so on and so forth. So when you're done making back loop single crochets in every stitch, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. We're now going to start making the thermal stitch. We're only going to use this stitch for the base of our bag to make it sturdier. So to make this stitch, you're first going to skip the chain you just made and insert your hook in the back loop of the first stitch. Then you're going to tilt your work a little bit like this, and you're going to see that there's other loops over here. So we're going to insert our hook in the loop right below like this, and then what you're going to do is yarn over, pull through the 2 first loops just like this. You're gonna yarn over again and pull through. So here is our first thermal stitch, and we're going to repeat that all across. Insert your hook in the next back loop, tilt your work a little bit, and insert your hook in the loop right below it, just like this. You're gonna yarn over and pull through the 2 first loops. You're gonna yarn over and pull through the 2 remaining loops. Again, back loop, you're gonna tilt your work, insert your hook in the loop right underneath like this, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the 2 remaining loops, back loop, loop right below, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, back loop, loop right below, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So you're gonna repeat that all across your row. Right, so here I'm done making all of my thermal stitches, and so we're gonna repeat that over and over again until we find that the base of our bag is wide enough. So I'm gonna show you guys once again how to make the thermal stitch. You're going to chain one and turn your work. You're going to skip the chain you just made and insert your hook in the back loop of the first stitch and in the stitch right below. Yarn over, pull through the two first loops, yarn over, pull through the two remaining loops. Insert your hook in the back loop of the next stitch, insert your hook in the loop right below it, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Again, back loop, loop right below, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and you're gonna do that all across. So here I'm done with my second row of thermal stitches, and I'm just going to continue this over and over again until I feel like my base is wide enough. So just continue making these rows until you're satisfied with how wide the base of your bag is. Right, so here I'm done with the base of my bag, and it's about 2.5 inches wide. So once you feel like you have enough rows, you can stop and move on to the next step, which is to build the body of the bag. So the first thing you're gonna want to do is put a stitch marker in your last stitch, just like this, right in the last stitch you just made, and you're gonna want to chain one. We're now going to crochet all around the base of the bag. We're gonna place single crochets in these little holes. To be able to see them, you can just spread your work a little bit like this. So again, here I'm gonna spread my work. You see that there's a little hole here. If I spread the work, another hole here. So we're gonna put our first single crochet in the first hole, just like this. Put a stitch marker in your first stitch. We're gonna spread the work again and insert our hook in the next hole and make a single crochet. Spread the work again, insert our hook, single crochet, next hole here, single crochet, next hole here, single crochet, and so we're gonna do that until the other corner. It looks a little different here, but the last single crochet goes in this hole in here. Alright, so when you're done doing this side of the base of the bag, we're going to start working on this side over here, and this one's gonna be a little easier because we can just insert our hook in these stitches. So as you guys can see, my first stitch is here, so I'm gonna make a single crochet in there. My next stitch is right in here. I'm gonna make my single crochet. Next stitch is in here. Insert your hook, single crochet, and you're gonna do that all across until you reach the other corner. Right, so once you get to the other edge, we're going to repeat the same thing we did on the other side. So we're going to spread our work and insert our hook in the first hole and make a single crochet there. Spread our work again, insert our hook, single crochet, and we're going to repeat that all across. So once you're done doing this, we're gonna go back over here and make single crochets all across until we reach our stitch marker. So this part again is pretty easy. You just have to insert your hook through the stitches and make single crochets. Next stitch here, single crochet, next stitch, single crochet, so on and so forth. All right, so here I've reached my stitch marker. I'm going to take it off. I'm then going to insert my hook through the last stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. And now I'm not going to finish my single crochet because I want to change colors. So now go ahead and grab the second color you want to use. For me, it's this brown. So what you want to do is grab the new color and finish your single crochet with that new color. Now that you're done with your last single crochet, you're going to take back your stitch marker and put it back in the last stitch. Alright, so before you do anything else, you're gonna go ahead and count your stitches. So you're gonna count from the first stitch marker to the last stitch marker, and you're supposed to have an even number of stitches. If you don't have an even number of stitches, the next steps are not going to work. So just make sure that you have an even number of stitches. If you count all of your stitches and you have an odd number, what you can do is cheat a little and just add an extra stitch at the end here. Don't worry about it. Now to finish this round, you're gonna want to slip stitch in the first stitch of the round. So take off your stitch marker, insert your hook in there, yarn over and pull through again to make your slip stitch. Now you can take back your stitch marker and put it back in the same stitch. What we're gonna do now is chain one. So now in order for this project to work, we have to turn our work every row. So watch carefully, I'm gonna turn my work. So now, as you guys can see, my purple stitch marker is now towards my right hand and my blue stitch marker is towards my left hand. What we're going to do is skip the chain we just made, skip the slip stitch we just made, and insert our hook in the first stitch of the round, which used to be the last stitch of the previous round. So take off the stitch marker. We're gonna skip these two and insert our hook in the first stitch of the row. And we're gonna make a single crochet. Once you're done with that first stitch, you're going to take back your stitch marker and put it back in there. Alright, so once that's done, we're going to go over to the next stitch and make a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So here we have our double crochet, and we're going to repeat these 2 stitches all around our work. Next stitch, we're going to make a single crochet, just like this, and then on the next stitch, we're going to make a double crochet. Alright, so next stitch, single crochet, next stitch, double crochet, next stitch, single crochet, next stitch, double crochet. Alright, so you're going to repeat that all around the base of your bag. Alright, so here I'm almost done going around. I have one last double crochet to make here at the end. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook in that stitch, in that last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm not going to yarn over and pull through these 2 last loops because I want to change colors again. So what you want to do is drop the color you were just using, take back the first color you were using, you're going to yarn over and pull through the 2 remaining loops. So just like that, you changed colors. You're going to take back your stitch marker and put it in your last stitch. And by the way, you have to finish with a double crochet. If your last stitch isn't a double crochet, that means you have made a mistake while you were crocheting in the round. So now to finish round 2, we're going to slip stitch in the first stitch of the round, which is where the stitch marker is. So I'm going to insert my hook here. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on my hook to make a slip stitch. To continue, I'm going to chain 1. Alright, so as I said, every time we start a new row, we have to turn our work. So this is how my work looks like right now. I have my purple stitch marker on my right and my blue stitch marker on my left. I'm going to turn my work. I now have my blue stitch marker on my right and my purple stitch marker on my left. Alright, so every time we start a row, we're gonna skip the chain we just made and the slip stitch and insert our hook in the first stitch of the round. So I'm going to take off my stitch marker, insert my hook in that stitch, and make a single crochet. Every round has to start with a single crochet and end with a double crochet. So single crochet, next stitch, double crochet, next stitch, single crochet, next stitch, double crochet. Alright, so go ahead and do that all around your bag. Alright, so here I have reached my stitch marker. I'm going to take it off and make a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, And I'm not going to yarn over and pull through the 2 remaining loops because I want to change colors again. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to drop the color I'm using and take back the other color. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the 2 remaining loops. So to finish this 3rd round, we have to insert our hook in the 1st stitch of the round and make a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through, and pull through again. Now to start round 4, you have to chain 1. So as you guys can see, I have my purple stitch marker on my left. I'm going to turn my work, and now my purple stitch marker is on my right. So now we're going to start by making a single crochet. We're going to skip the chain we just made and the slip stitch and insert our hook in the 1st stitch of the round. I'm going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 to make my single crochet, because every time we start a row, we start with a single crochet. Then put a stitch marker on that 1st stitch, and then continue by repeating the same thing, which is making a double crochet in the next stitch, followed by a single crochet, followed by a double crochet, so on and so forth all around your work. Okay, so here I have reached my stitch marker. I'm going to take it off, yarn over, insert my hook in the last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and do not pull through the 2 remaining loops. And now instead of yarning over and pulling through with the same color, I'm going to drop this color and grab the other one. I'm going to yarn over and pull through with the other color. Alright, so to end this round, we're going to slip stitch in the 1st stitch. So insert your hook in the 1st stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through again to make a slip stitch. And then to start the next round, you have to chain 1 and turn your work. Then you're going to skip the chain and skip the slip stitch you just made and make a single crochet in the 1st stitch of the round. So go ahead and repeat these steps over and over again until you feel like the body of the bag is big enough for your taste. So again, every row should start with a single crochet and end with a double crochet. And every time you finish a row, you turn your work and repeat the same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and make all of my rows, and I'll see you guys then. Alright, so here I'm done with all of my rounds. If you're curious, I made a total of 32 rounds. Once you're done making your last round, you're going to slip stitch like usual. Then you're going to chain 1 and pull some yarn. You can cut it and weave in the end. You can also cut the other color of yarn you have. Alright, so we're now done with the body of the bag. We're going to start making these straps. So the next step is for you to figure out how wide you want your straps to be. And the only thing you have to be mindful of right now is that you need to have an even number of stitches for the straps. So I'm going to give you guys an example. I don't want my straps to be too big, so I'm going to put a stitch marker right in here in this stitch. And I'm just going to look over my work and put another stitch marker right across on the other side, like this. And now I'm going to count these stitches and see if this is an even number. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 stitches, so I'm good. If I were to have 13 stitches, I would just move over a stitch marker, either to have one more stitch or one less stitch, so I have an even number. So example, if this stitch marker was right in here, I would just move it either on the one before or in the one after. Alright, so here, as I said, I have 12 stitches. So now we're gonna have to make some math. You don't have to do the math, you can always just eyeball it, but if you want to be really precise, you're gonna want to do a little math. But it's not too complicated, so don't worry. So what you're gonna have to do is count the total amount of stitches you have in your round. So all around my bag, I have 138 stitches. Now for my straps, I'm gonna have 12 stitches in each side. Alright, so what you're gonna do is that you're going to take the total amount of stitches you have on your round. For me, it's 138. And you're going to subtract the amount of stitches you have for your strap. So I'm going to do minus 12 again, because I have two sides, which equals to 114. And then we're going to take the result and divide it by 2. So 114 divided by 2 equals 57. And I'm going to show you guys what to do with this number. So let's do another example. If you had, let's say, 100 stitches all around your bag and you wanted to make a strap that's 10 stitches wide, you would do 100 minus 10 minus 10, that equals 80, and then you would do 80 divided by 2, which equals 40. Alright, so once you got your number minus 57, what you're going to do is take another stitch marker and start counting. So we're going to start counting right after the stitch where the stitch marker is. So I'm not going to count this stitch here. I'm going to start on the one right after. So from here, I'm going to count 57. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so here is my 57th stitch. So I'm going to take my stitch marker and put a stitch marker in the stitch right afterwards. So if, for example, your number was 40, you would count 40 and put a stitch marker in the stitch right after. So once that's done, I'm going to count 12 again for my second strap. So from this stitch marker, I'm going to count 12. So the stitch where the stitch marker is counts as one stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the 12th one is here, so I'm going to put a stitch marker there. It's not this one here because this is like the slip stitch from the end of the round. So this way you make sure that everything is equal and your straps don't end up like crooked. Alright, so we can now move on to making the strap. So the next few steps are pretty easy. So here I ended my round with white. So I'm going to grab my brown color. I'm going to make a slip knot. Alright, so once that's done, we're going to start crocheting again. Now, the first stitch you're going to make is either going to be a single crochet or a double crochet. So if your stitch marker is placed in a double crochet like me, you're going to start with a single crochet. And if your stitch marker is placed on a single crochet, you're going to start with a double crochet. So I'm going to take my stitch marker off, insert my hook in there, and make a single crochet, because my stitch right underneath is a double crochet. All right, so now I'm just going to make a double crochet on the next stitch. Next, I'm going to make a single crochet. So we're basically just making the same pattern again as the body of the bag. And we're going to continue doing this until we reach the stitch marker. Alright, so here I've reached my stitch marker. I'm going to take it off and end my row with a double crochet, just like this. Now what you're going to do is pull some yarn and cut it. You're going to see that you're going to have a lot of ends, but really don't worry about it because we're not going to have to weave them in. I'm going to show you guys how to hide them without having to weave them in. Once you're done with your first row like this, you're going to turn your work and repeat the same thing. So now I'm going to grab my white yarn and make a slip knot again. And I'm going to insert my hook in the first stitch of the row. I ended my row with a double crochet, so now I'm going to start my row with a single crochet. If you ended your row with a single crochet, you're going to start with a double crochet. So here I'm going to make my single crochet and repeat the pattern until the end of the row. So here's a double crochet, next stitch single crochet, next stitch double, so on and so forth until the end of the row. All right, so here I have one last stitch to make, which is a double crochet, just like this. Now I'm done with this row. I'm going to pull some yarn, cut it, and turn my work. I'm now again going to take my brown yarn and repeat the same thing. So I'm going to be making a slip knot. I'm going to insert my hook in the first stitch of the row and make a single crochet because I ended my row with a double crochet. So here's my single crochet. I'm going to continue with a double and repeat this pattern all across. Right, so here I'm done with my last stitch. I'm going to pull some yarn and cut it. I think you get the hang of it. As you guys can see, we're continuing the same stitch pattern as we did for the body of the bag, which creates a nice continuity. You're gonna have to continue making these rows until you feel like your strap is long enough. Don't forget that we're going to also make the same process on the other side, so these straps are going to connect on the top here, so don't make it too long. When I'm done with mine, I'm gonna tell you guys how many rows I make, and I'm also going to tell you guys how much it measures so you guys can have a reference. Here I'm done with my first strap. I made 30 rows and it measures 10 inches. So go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side and I'll see you guys then. Alright, so here I'm done doing the second strap. Now the next thing we're going to do is make some knots. So what I do is that I turn my work like this. And what I do is I make knots with the tails that are in the extremities. So I take these two first tails and I make a knot like this. I make two. Then I push the two tails I just used inside like this. So these are, we're going to have to weave them in because they're noticeable, but the more you go up, the less visible they are. So next I take the two next tails and make two knots again. 1, 2, and push them inside like this. Next two tails, I take them, make two knots, and push them in. Next two tails, two knots, push them in. Alright, so you're gonna repeat that all over and you're gonna repeat the same thing on the other side. Alright, so when you're done, this is what your work should look like, and now we're going to attach the two straps together. So you can grab some yarn and your darning needle. Now make sure that your straps aren't twisted before you attach them together, and so you can do this whatever way you prefer. What I do is I go through a stitch like this with my needle, and then I go on the other side and pass my needle through another stitch like this. I pass the yarn through one time and then I do it a second time in the same two stitches like this, and I repeat that for every stitch all across. So I'm gonna go over to the next stitch here and the next stitch on the other side and pull the yarn. And so I'm going to repeat that another time in the same stitch. So go ahead and repeat that all over until the straps are attached together. Alright, we're now going to work on the last step, which is the most exciting step because it really makes this bag come together. So what you're going to do is take about 1 meter of yarn and pass it through your darning needle. Take your needle and pass it through the corner between your strap and this flat side over here. So pass your needle through the first stitch and leave a little tail, and with that tail you're going to make a knot with another random tail that you have around here. So make a knot, 2 or 3. I'm gonna make 2. Now the next steps are going to be pretty easy. You're just going to go over the next stitch and pass your needle through like this, pass your needle through again on the other stitch like this, again on the other stitch, pass your needle through, pass your needle through the next, and you're gonna do that until you reach the middle of your bag. Right, so here I reached the middle, so I'm gonna stop here and take another meter of yarn, and we're going to make the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to pass my needle through the first stitch like this, leave a tail and make a knot with a random tail that I have left inside. So I'll make a knot, and then I'm going to continue passing my needle through every stitch until I reach the middle of my bag. So when you reach the middle with the 2 strands, what you're going to do is make a little knot with the 2 strands and pull. So it's going to start scrunching the bag, and you can really stop whenever you want depending on how scrunched you want it to look. So I think I'm going to stop right here. I like it like this, so I'm going to make a second knot and maybe a third one also, just to make sure that it doesn't move. So that's 2. I'm gonna make a third one just like this. We can now cut the excess off and weave in these ends. Now you can go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side of the bag. So once you're done doing the same thing on the other side and weaved in all of your ends, you're officially done with your project. So I really hope you enjoyed making this bag. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.